Hello, welcome to the disco. To the disco. Please enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself at the disco. At the disco. At the disco. At the disco. At the disco.
All right. Katie, how
Yeah.
you doing?
I'm good, Josh. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
So you're a hair and makeup artist.
hmm
You work on set and mostly advertising, right?
Yes, that's
You
correct.
also own a fragrance company.
Yes.
So what's the name of your fragrance company?
The name of the fragrance company is Eidecker Studio,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just my last name and my little studio.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And when did that start?
That started probably about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I created it right before I had my daughter. So, I was pregnant making a fragrance line.
Her name's Marcy.
Her name is Marcy as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's named after my grandmother, the first scent, who her name was Marcy. And I just always loved that name. And the inspiration from naming it after her was because she had a signature scent that she wore all the time.
Yeah.
And so when I was trying to think of a name for a scent, I was like, let me just call it Marcy because of her.
What was her scent?
It was Youth Dew by Estee Lauder.
Okay.
So she wore that, probably for, as long as I was alive. So when
Mhm.
she passed, I got an old bottle of her
Mhm.
scent and I opened it up like 10 years after she passed. And I was like, oh my God, it smells just like her.
It's crazy probably the rush of memories that come back
Yes.
once you smell
Yes.
it.
Yes. I was like taken back immediately to her
Mhm.
bedroom, to her bathroom, just like
Mhm.
exploring it as a kid.
Yep.
So it made me realize how powerful having your own scent is. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, when you were developing Marcy, how much trial and error was it? How much time did you spend developing it?
So it wasn't too much of a trial and error. Like I definitely scaling it up and
Mhm.
mixing the solutions and trying to figure out the math for that's been more difficult. But I created it years ago, probably like 11 years ago, for myself.
Mhm.
So I just blended 3 different oils that I found at a health food store up in
Mhm.
Norcross.
Yeah.
And and then just started wearing it every day, like, put it in a little bottle and started wearing it, and people would just stop me on the street and be like, "What is this scent? Like, what is this that you're wearing?"
Mhm.
And so I always wanted to do it on a larger scale. And then, about yeah, 5 years ago, I found out that I could, so and I did. Yeah.
Yeah. What told you that you could do it? What happened?
So I was just doing some research on the internet and I found I looked up the brand of oils
Mhm.
and then I found that they had this whole wholesale page and that
Yeah.
they supplied, I guess, to larger fragrance houses. And so you could, if you had a business license, like you could order the larger barrels of the oils.
Mhm.
And so I was like, all right, I used my husband's business license and his name and I was like, ordered them up and they sent them to my house. And I'm like, all right.
That was easy.
Yeah, super easy. I was actually taking a break from social media at the time, so
Mhm.
I was at a car dealership. I was like, "I have nothing else to do. Let me, just look this up."
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That was the start of
that
it.
was the start of it.
So it's such a good fragrance, Marcy, uh, because it's so light. It's it's not super feminine. Like
Yeah,
I've worn it before.
yeah,
I've put it in an oil diffuser in the salon, and just like I always have it
yeah.
going in the salon. And I get asked about it all the time. I've used that scent in like giveaways that I've done for the salon all the time, and every time I do that, like I get such a good response of people just wanting to know what that is.
Oh, appreciate it.
Like you say that like it's just like your whatever blend, but
Mhm.
like I think it's pretty unique and I get asked about it all the time. Cuz even if I'm wearing it, whether I'm wearing like Marcy or Tame, what's
Mhm. Same.
Tame, like it's so good. I think I love Tame more than Marcy.
Yeah,
But
I go back and forth.
mhm.
I love blending them together.
So was it different creating Tame than Marcy?
Yeah, I guess Tame took a lot longer of a process because I didn't have, like, 11 years of research leading up to it,
Mhm.
as I did with Marcy because that was my scent. So I started wearing Tame probably, like, 3 years ago, maybe, and I loved it. It became my, like, nighttime fragrance when I wanted something just a little bit more,
Mhm.
and so I started testing it out with my friends to see what their responses were, and it honestly I didn't get a lot of feedback on it.
Mhm.
But I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna do this for myself because I
Yeah.
love it." I love blending them together. I love wearing Tame by itself when I just want something a little bit more woodsy or spicy.
Mhm.
And so, and I got the inspiration of the name from my parents. It's their initials together because it seems like such a fragrance for them. So,
Mhm.
like, woodsy reminds me of my dad, and the cleanliness of it reminds me of my mom, so
I love
that's
that.
yeah.
So, is there a reason why you wanted to do oils specifically?
I started off selling perfumes when I got into the cosmetic industry. So, like, water and alcohol just dilutes a fragrance. I feel that I can never find a great scent, and I think a lot of it has to do with the dilution of water and alcohol. Like, it changes it in some kind of way. So, I feel like oils, you just get a better I guess, a better fragrance because it lasts longer on the skin, it works with your body temperature, it works with your body chemistry better.
Mhm.
So I prefer oils. A lot of people like the idea of the spray and kinda miss the spray and they want it in a spray, but
Mhm.
if I was to do a spray, it would just change, I think, the scents completely.
Hmm. Do you think it's gonna be do you think that oils are a trend right now, or is that just have they always been around?
I Great question. I do find that they are trendier now. I've never when I started, like, 20 years ago, there were no oils that I knew of,
Right.
and so, I think when I stumbled
Other than,
upon
like, patchouli.
exactly.
Mhm.
When I stumbled upon these oils, I was, like, blown away by the scents because it was just unusual, it's not like anything I'd ever smelled before.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I guess it is trendier now, but, um, I'm happy they're here.
Yeah.
I want
I
them to
love it.
stay.
Because it seems like the bottle of Marcy that we've had has lasted so long.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like, "Katie, you should sell smaller bottles of these
Yes, yes.
because these last so long,
Yeah.
and a little bit goes so far."
Yeah, I have found that to be an issue because
Yeah.
they're like people are like, "I've had it for years." I'm like, "No, you need to go through it a little bit faster." Yeah.
Or you can be like me, and I broke my bottle
Yeah.
after, like, 3 or 4 months of using it, and when like, after 3 or 4 months, I'd literally, like, just barely
Yeah.
had used any of the bottle, and I accidentally knocked it off my counter, and it shattered. And now there's, like, just the tiniest bit left in the glass jar or the broken glass jar that I still use
Yeah.
because, like, I'll still pour a little Tame, like, in my hands and then rub it on my neck, but, when that bottle cracked, I cleaned it up with a towel, and the smell was so good, like, on the towel, I'm like, "Well, now I'm not gonna wash this
Yeah.
towel. I'm just gonna,
Right.
like, fold it up and, like, put it in the corner because now this towel is like an air freshener for the room. It smells so
Right.
good."
Oh, that's awesome to hear, I'm
Yeah.
glad.
It's a creative way to use your fragrance.
Right, yeah, I mean, it, like, gets on my clothes, like,
Mhm.
once it gets onto something, it kinda just stays, and so it really does become, like, a signature scent, so,
Yeah.
in some ways, like, it'll take over your house if you're not careful.
So, are you planning on making any other scents?
I will probably not make any more sense right now. I am probably gonna focus on more different products. So I've been working with trying to create a home diffuser,
Mhm.
figuring out the packaging for that because I really want it to be good.
Yeah.
But also that's another issue. Like the home diffusers that I've made, it's like they've lasted for so long.
How do you make a diffuser?
Just blend like the scented oils and a mixture of like a coconut oil or like some kind of neutral oil, and then it
Oh.
goes up the sticks. You know, like one of those home
So you're
diffusers.
you're not actually making, like, the electronic diffuser?
No, not. I mean, I really think you could use because you said you put it in
Yeah.
there, yeah. Or even one of the heated oils, you could use it that way. But no, I
Mhm.
was like thinking of doing like one with the sticks,
Mhm.
or but
'Cause honestly, I don't know if this is just the diffuser I've had, but I was using Marcy in the diffuser and just putting a couple drops, and then you fill it with water,
yeah,
and then, like, it smells great for hours.
yeah,
And that was the same process every day. I would just, like, add a little bit more, and it would go for hours. And then one day I just added water to it and didn't add the Marcy to it,
Yeah.
and it still smelled like Marcy.
Yeah.
And I was like, did the oil just like get inside the diffuser? So I was like, I'm just gonna see how long this will go and still smell like Marcy if I'm just adding water to it. And like honestly, it went weeks
Yes.
of me just adding water and it still smelled good. I'm like, this is great for me. This is like terrible because your
Yes.
product lasts so long.
I know. It is terrible.
But it's like the wonder perfume
And the
or
truth be
oil. It smells
told,
so good.
it, like, gets better with time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, if I've had bottles that I've used for different things that
Hmm.
like, old bottles, like, around my house, and, like, the smell, the scent is better when it's, like, 3 or 4 years old
Hmm.
than it is fresh.
Do you have old bottles of it?
I don't have too many old bottles of it, but I just have, like, my
Should do
old
like,
bottle that I had, like, a different packaging
hmm,
before, and I changed it all up, like, a couple years ago. So, like, the original Marcy
you
bottle.
should do some barrel aged.
Yeah, right?
Just do a unique batch of it. That'd be
Yeah.
great. So, uh, how do you like? Where do you see Marcy going? Like in a few years?
That's a tricky question because I have 2 young children.
Mm-hmm.
I also do hair and makeup on sets and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
those are, like, my top priorities right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so the perfume line is kind of a side hustle. So it's been hard for me to focus my energies on it when there's, like, so many other things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking it really slow, like, just trying to do a simply, like, just put my head down, I try to make 20 bottles a week,
Yeah.
and I'm terrible at marketing myself and selling myself, so I do nothing for the in that on that aspect. And I just see where it goes, and so far, I've gotten it in, I think, a total of 7 stores. Right now, it's actively carried in 4 stores.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so people just reach out. They, like, buy it at one store, and they're like, "I have a store.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be interested in carrying it here?" And I'm like, "Yes." So, I'm just I like to see it slowly grow,
Yeah.
see where it goes. My
Marketing is, I mean, obviously it's so hard and you could hire a whole team to do it. And that's something like I struggle with as a small business too. Like you can have a great business, but if you're not on top of like your social media and even like use Google,
Mhm.
using Google as its own social media platform, you can play that game too. Like it's like you have to stay on top of it.
Yeah,
And if you don't, then like it just slowly starts to like fade away. But it's like as a boss, as a small business owner, like you have to stay on top of it.
you do, you do.
Yeah.
Even I go off these, like, long periods of time off Instagram where I'll just
Hmm.
take in the content, but I don't post any content, which is a really ineffective way of using Instagram.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, so I broke out of my habit, finally posted to Eidecker Studio this week, and
Hmm.
someone reached out immediately after seeing my story and was
Hmm.
like, "I would love to carry it in my shop." And I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh, yeah, I see always the benefit of doing it."
Yeah.
But it's just really hard for me to get into that mindset.
Hmm. Yeah, it's not my personality strength to be like good at social media. Like
Yeah.
it's definitely just like something like I have to intentionally do because I hate doing it. I'm like much more a passive observer on like Instagram
Yes.
and TikTok of like I'm just I hate being a content creator, but
Yes.
you have to do it.
You really do, and it's an unfortunate part of it,
Yeah.
but I think it's just something I need to get practice at and get better at.
Hmm. I have gotten better at it.
Yeah.
Uh to where it doesn't consume like so much headspace
Yes.
and where I can just like break it down and be like, okay, like I finally have learned how to use like a content planner.
Oh,
And like I use Planoli or Planoli.
okay.
And it's super easy. I'm like, oh, I just need to do like this many
Yes.
posts a month and like it stays consistent. But as soon as I like slip up and don't have it automated,
Yes.
then I'm like, oh, I can instantly like I can see like the engagement go down.
Yeah, okay, I need to get that from you
Yeah.
because
Like, automate as much as you can.
Yes, I am all down for that, so
Mhm,
I need to get on that. I don't people have told me to and people have done it. I just would much rather spend my time researching anything else
mhm.
than how to use Instagram
I
or
I know.
TikTok or any of it.
Me too. But it's a game you have to play.
It
At
is.
least, like, I think with, like, salons, maybe even more, like, you have to have a social media presence
Yes.
because, like, if I could just do this business and not have any type of social media, like, I would love it.
Yeah.
But I you can't be successful in at
Mm-mm.
this day and age without it.
If you're selling a service, for
Mhm.
sure.
Like, my mother-in-law is 72, she still does hair, and, she's on Facebook, but that's
Yeah.
about it. And, like, she hasn't posted a picture of hair, like, ever,
Yeah.
but that's just, like, her generation, and that's all of her clients are word of mouth, and sometimes I'm jealous of that.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of wish I had that,
Yes.
but, you know, maybe when I'm 70.
I think that for me, I'm, like, trying to push for that by
Mhm,
not doing anything,
mhm,
which is not very effective,
yeah.
and
I think it was, I can't remember if it was before or after COVID, but there was a year where I intentionally didn't post, like, I hardly posted any hair pictures
Mhm.
at all
Mhm.
because I wanted to, like, prove to myself that I didn't have to do social media to be successful.
Yes.
And I think it was 2020, but that was a year like I had like exploded with word of mouth clients, but I didn't post like hardly anything on social media. And in my head, I wanted to be like, see, like
Yeah.
it didn't matter if I wasn't posting on social media. Like I
Yeah.
still was getting new clients, but then it caught up with me.
Yeah.
Like there was like the next year, like I got in this really big dip, and I was
Mm.
like, what is it?
Mhm.
And I traced it back to like, well, like my social media presence is kind of trash.
Yeah.
Like, my reviews weren't up to date. Like nothing was responded back to. Like my Instagram page just looked like, you know, thrown together.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I think I need to make this a little bit more intentional, especially when I made the switch from the like working by myself to coming in here and like having employees. And like once you have a team or, people who are also relying on it, that
Mhm.
kind of like was a really big switch for me too of
Yeah.
like, this needs to be more intentional.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think your social media presence is great. It's much better than mine.
Well, now it is
Yeah.
because I feel like I've worked really hard on it just to
Yeah.
like make it look good.
Yeah.
But that also helps with having someone do all your branding for you.
Does help.
hmm Jared, who does all my branding, he set me up like a Canva account
Uh-huh.
where it has all my fonts,
Mm.
like specific to my brand, my like color scheme, all these different layouts,
Yes.
and like all my icons, all my logos. It's all in one place.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just it's so easy to create with it. And like if have you ever used
I
Canva?
have not, no.
Canva is so good. Like if you just I think even like the basic Canva is good. The pro account's really good too. Um, but you can, if you have someone who is like a graphic designer and they give you specific things,
Mhm.
it makes it even easier. But you can just scroll through Canva and there's thousands of like different templates for like Instagram stories or like any type of like Instagram post. It just gives you like really good content ideas. And
Love it.
sometimes I find myself like just scrolling through Canva, just looking at like, because it's all kind of like templates of
Mhm.
everything. I'll just be scrolling through templates and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna use that. I can use that for like this type of post." Uh,
Alright.
but like that's helped me out a lot.
No.
Canva's pretty great.
That's good to hear. I
Mm-hmm.
think that that is a goal of mine this year with Eidecker Studio is
Mm-hmm.
to get better at things like Canva,
Mm-hmm.
Planly, what was the other one called?
Planoli.
Planoly,
Yeah,
excuse me.
I'll send it to
Planoly.
you.
Yeah, those things, automate as much as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and then see where the growth takes me from there. Because I
Yeah.
find that I would probably grow more if I was to focus on it.
So I know like you've done like long breaks off social media.
Mhm.
Didn't you just do like a
Yes.
like crazy fast of
Yes,
January?
yes, we did what we call austerary. This is my 4th year doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
What is it?
So it is my husband and I and a couple of other people, we take the month of January and we don't drink, we don't do social media, we don't do sugar, we fast on Sundays. And there's a few other goals that we might add into it.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
And the first year I did it, I was like, I learned so much about myself, so much about self discipline, like learned how alcohol affects me in certain ways.
Mhm.
And I just, after the month was over, I felt so great mentally, especially taking a break from social media. I didn't
Mhm.
realize how much it affected me.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to get back on it. I never want to get on any of the stuff after like the month is up. I'm like, yeah, I'll never drink alcohol again.
Mhm.
But that always first weekend, I'm like, all right, back on everything. But
Mhm.
it leaves me inspired. It makes me feel creative. And it energizes me. And it's a great way to start off the year.
So, I mean, you don't do like do you do no sugar with your kids?
No, no. The kids sugar is my motivator. I'm like
Yeah.
like, you guys just get in the car and I'll give you some gummy bears.
I know. I used to think that like parents who use bribery as a tool I used to be like, I will never do that with my kids.
Yeah.
And then you have kids, I'm like, everything is
It's
bribery.
so effective.
I
It's
know.
bribery or reward system,
Yeah, same thing.
one way or another. Yeah.
So, how I've never done like a no sugar fast. Like I've done different like monthly cleanses and
Mhm.
breaks, but I've never done them all at once.
Yeah.
So, what do you how does your body react to no sugar? Like especially like when you reintroduce it.
Yeah, I don't notice it so much when I reintroduce it, but what I notice a lot is you can definitely have withdrawals.
Mhm.
Like I'm not a sweet tooth person, like I never crave sugar when
Mhm.
I can have it. But man, when you go off all those things, like sugar is like I look at a chocolate bar and I'm like, I just want to bite. Like I can really feel the addiction come through. And yeah, I'm always shocked by it. This time it was really bad. I think I broke down a few times and just had some chocolate. I was like, I just have to have some sugar.
Yeah, I have a huge sweet tooth.
You do?
Like I think that would be so hard for me to do. Like
Yeah.
I've only taken a break from like sugar when I did keto once, but even that was only like a couple weeks. It
Yeah.
wasn't that intense. But that's a big one.
It's a
And
big one.
I did I did a break in November from alcohol.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized like how big of a sweet tooth I have
Yeah.
because I wasn't gonna try to do any other diet. I was like, I'm just gonna just not drink this month. Needed a break. So after like a few days into like no alcohol, I realized I'm like, I am just like craving sugar.
Yes.
Like I was by the end of the month, I think I made like a batch of oatmeal cookies just for me.
Yes.
Nobody in my house eats oatmeal cookies. Like I love oatmeal cookies, but like I ate that entire batch of cookies and I'm like, fuck, maybe I should just start drinking again
Yeah.
because I don't know
Which one's worse?
which one's worse. But
Yeah, no, my daughter had like got into Oreos recently. She like loves Oreos and I love Oreos.
I
And
know.
so
What kid doesn't like Oreos?
it's I find that it's really hard to like convince kids to like things that you think that they would
It's
like.
true.
I'm like, an Oreo just seems like it would be a natural thing for a kid to love, but I had to not train them, but it took them a while before they were like, "This is delicious."
Hmm. We always have some sort of cookie
Mhm.
as a treat, as a reward.
Yeah.
I think Moto's right now is like vanilla wafers, is
Mm.
the gambling chips.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We haven't tried those. We should try them.
They're
Gambling
easier.
chips.
Yeah. So, uh, how long did you do it? Did you do it just a month?
Just did it a month.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it like any type of competition, or is it just like you and another group of friends?
Yeah, it's this guy who started it, and he, I guess, kind of wanted the idea to spread, or I don't know
Hmm.
if he was going to market it or anything. It was years ago, kind of before I don't know. So he was just encouraging us, and we were like, "We'll do the challenge, like we'll
Hmm.
try it,"
Yeah.
because we had never taken it, like given up anything. I don't think Charles and I had, my
Yeah.
husband. So we did it, and it felt so good. I even now sometimes do it in July. Like I'll take off. I've done it in July too, and I
Hmm.
I just love it. So
So no social media at all?
No social media, and so I find that my time I'm, like, practicing Spanish, I'm reading The Atlantic, The New Yorker, I'm, like,
Mhm,
reading so much, I, like, use my library app, and I look at fashion magazines, and I just
mhm.
get very inspired, and it just feels really good, but this year, I missed Instagram, which was the first, like, this time I'm like, "I'm ready to get back on it," like,
What'd you miss about it?
I miss the mindless scrolling,
Yeah.
like, just not wanting to think or really consume anything, just to mindlessly, like, look at other people doing things,
Mhm.
which was a weird one for me.
I know, I mean, I go through phases of deleting Instagram off my phone, deleting TikTok off my phone, and then you fill your time with something else, maybe something,
Yes.
like, more educational, but just, like, I don't know, it's comforting to just,
Yes.
like, mindlessly scroll sometimes.
Yeah, it was, and there's times where, like, especially with my kids, this is so terrible to admit, but, like, I don't really wanna dive into, like, an article on something, I don't really wanna read something so intense, like, I just kinda wanna, like, take a break, step
Mhm.
back mentally, zone out for a little bit, then I can get back into, like, being present with them, and so
Yep.
social like, Instagram is a great tool for that.
Sometimes you might only have 5 minutes to
Exactly.
just, like, sit down, like, scroll on something before "Mom."
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
so, yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
It's also, like, so terrible for you.
So terrible. It is, and when you step away from it, you realize how much of an addiction that is as well, like,
Mhm.
how hard to give that up. It's like sugar and Instagram or social that's the only social media that I use. So it's like those 2 things are, like, the things that you just really, like, feel the itch to, like, go on your phone and scroll to it, and, like, you realize how often you do that during the day,
Mhm.
how much time you spend on it, how much time you're wasting on it.
Yeah. Do you ever look at your phone of, like, how much time you spend on
Yes.
different apps?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's depressing.
It is depressing. Every Saturday, they give me, like, the update of, like, what your weekly screen report is. I'm like,
Mhm.
"God, that's a lot."
So, through talking with guests on here and talking about imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
it really seems like everybody who has struggled with imposter syndrome, it's by looking at, like, other people's lives.
Yes.
And, I think, before social media, we would, like, maybe look at, like, a celebrity or someone on TV and
Yeah.
have imposter or not imposter syndrome, but maybe just seeing that and being like, I want what they have.
Yeah.
Why don't I have what they have? I must be terrible. But Instagram is just, like, kind of the root of it.
Mm.
Like, we see so many people who are in our industry
Yes.
doing better than us, and
Yes.
that's, like, the majority of my feed.
Yes.
And, I think that just, like, makes it even more like, imposter syndrome even more intense.
Yes.
Like, it's hard, but did you find that when you took a break from that, like, you weren't comparing as much?
I do find that I'm not comparing as much, but I think what it really made me do is, like, put a handle on the comparison, like,
Mm,
a little bit more or better. So, I maybe would like, there was a time where I saw a bunch of people I knew working on a set, on a job, and I was like part of me was like, "Man, I wish I was there. Like, why am I not there? Like, I should have been
mhm,
on that job."
mhm,
And then I wasn't working that day, I had the day off, and I stepped back and I was like, "No, my day is gonna be great, like, I don't have to be on this job where the breakfast is gonna be terrible, and I'm, like, really stressed, and, like, I'm gonna go for a walk in the woods, and, like, I'm gonna enjoy my day."
mhm,
So, I think that it just for me, I don't compare myself as much to other people as I had in the past,
mhm.
but I definitely suffer from imposter syndrome and did not realize what that was until I started listening to your podcast.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's a thing,
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
think everybody struggles with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to even when you, like, know what it is, but even when you know what imposter syndrome is and, like, can, like, realize it in the moment of,
Yeah.
like, I'm having imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
like, that helps,
It's
but it doesn't, like, completely solve it, and I do not know what the solution to it is other than just calling it what it is and
yeah.
then moving on.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, you're always gonna be comparing yourself
Yes.
to somebody in some way.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think about, like, my in-laws who they're both in their 70s. They both are, like, still doing their careers. I'm like, I doubt they have imposter syndrome. Like, or if they do, they don't give a fuck. They're just like,
Yes.
keep going on.
I think
Like,
that's the key is just not give a fuck.
yeah, easier said than done.
I know, it's so hard, and I think as you get older, hopefully, you give less and less fucks about it
Hmm.
about that kinda stuff.
Well, like when you started your uh, perfume line, like Eidecker Studio, did you have a lot of doubts about it?
Oh, absolutely, especially releasing Tame, like the
Hmm.
perfume. I the night before, I was like, "Oh my god, what if everybody hates it? Like,
Hmm.
what if nobody likes the scent? Like, this is gonna." I'm like it just, like, that thought crossed my mind, and I was like, "Well, nothing I can do about it now, like, I've already pushed this forward and, like, set a date." So,
Hmm.
yeah, I get very nervous. I get like, as soon as a customer emails me and asks me, like, a hard question or criticizes something happened, like crumble, like flour. I'm like, "I don't wanna do this anymore, like, I wanna give up, I hate this, whatever."
Hmm.
And then I just deal with the situation, and move on, and it's fine, like, it's and then I get, like, these positive remarks on my social media feed, like, once I post a picture, like, "This is the most amazing fragrance, I love it," like, and then I'm like, "Okay, this is great. Yeah,
Hmm.
I love doing this."
Yeah,
So
it's so funny how quickly we will just like let one terrible
absolutely.
thing rule our mind.
Right.
Like, you probably have had hundreds of great reviews, all this positive feedback,
Yes.
but then, you get like one customer service complaint and you just
Yes.
want to shut it all down.
Yeah.
Because I do the exact same thing. And, I found that what's been really good for my mental health is hiring other people to deal with that.
Yes.
Like I have Kristen who is basically like my customer service manager. She handles all the phone
That's
calls, the emails, and
yes, that's
the
so
text
nice.
messages, and like any issue where a client needs to be like handled like face to face or like over the phone, like Kristen handles that. And
Incredible.
because I realize like I'm terrible at that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay at it. I'm just like not great at it. I'm definitely have a terrible phone voice. Like that's just not me.
Yeah.
And once I realized, like, had to just admit, like, this is not me. Like, I need to find somebody who can do this. Like, once I like admitted that, found somebody for it, it was like such a relief because
Yes.
one, it doesn't feel like I'm doing something that I hate
Yeah.
doing. Two, I found someone who is really good at it,
Yeah.
and it's like, I guess, like takes away some of that imposter syndrome
Yeah.
because like when you're just trying to like I don't know, be friendly on the phone and this is not you. I'm
Yeah.
like, this, like, I hate doing this.
Yeah.
And then like, then that you end up avoiding doing the task completely
Completely.
because you hate doing it.
Yeah.
So
I understand.
I, maybe it's time to hire somebody.
But then I would have to have team members. Then I would be responsible for someone, and
Hmm.
that's a whole 'nother thing that I'm pushing off as long as possible.
Just get a whole team of AI to do it.
Brilliant.
The
Actually,
so
yeah.
I can't remember what it was called, but I signed up for it the other day because this was an ad on TikTok and I
Yeah.
totally fell for it. Where we've talked about Chat GPT
Yes.
a lot, and yeah, I think you were the one that really turned me on to it. Um, but there is this program where you sign up for a team of AI. Like there is an AI
No
copywriter, there's an AI marketer, there's an
no
AI.
way.
They even had like uh, like mental health services, like as an AI team member.
Stop.
And I can't remember what it's called. I don't have my phone on me, but I signed up for it because there was a free version of it, and
Yeah.
then there's like paid versions of it too. Just be like, okay, is this complete bullshit?
Yeah.
But I haven't played around with it too much, but
Okay.
it is really interesting because you can like ask your marketer, be like,
Yeah.
what's the best way for me to market Disco Salon?
Yeah.
And then it says like, okay, well, let's look at your Google account and like start looking at your
Wow.
statistics. And it's pretty vague.
Yeah.
Like it does like just I think if you were to ask ChatGPT the
Yeah.
same question, it would probably give you like the same result. This is just like, I guess, categorized a little bit better.
Yeah.
And you can go back through your dashboard on this like portal and see like all the past conversations too. So,
Fascinating.
but I think that's the future.
I
So
think so
you
too.
might not have to hire someone
Yeah.
specifically, but you might have like a team of AI to just do
I
all this
love
for
it.
you.
Yeah, except for then do you feel like it will eventually, if a team of AI is doing all the marketing is gonna be the same?
I think so, but I think it's gonna really I think everyone's gonna use AI in the future,
Absolutely.
but you're gonna have to put the artistic twist on it.
That's cool.
So I think AI is really great at just giving you the prompts
Yeah, the
and
structure.
then like you fill in the
Yeah,
gaps.
interesting.
Like, have you been playing around with it anymore since we last talked?
Not terribly, so I feel like I can never figure out a question to ask it. I,
Mm-hmm.
like, ask it a lot of kid-related stuff,
Oh yeah? Like
um,
what?
like, how to handle, like, bedtimes for toddlers or how to toddler meals, like, what are some good ideas for toddler meals, a
Did it
toddler
have
birthday party?
did it have any good
Oh, yeah,
responses to that?
absolutely, yeah.
So
I
how
mean
how do you get your kids to bed? How's an AI get your kids to bed?
oh, it's just I think it's everything I knew, it's the same. It's like a routine, establish a routine,
Mm-hmm.
establish, turning down all the lights,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all the things that I'm not very good at. It's routine and consistency.
Yeah, pretty soon you can just ask
Yeah,
Chat to just like read them a
a
story,
book. Yeah.
please. Can you read this like Robin Williams?
Yeah. Oh my god, that would be great. My
Mm-hmm.
kids will probably love it. I would be really sad. I enjoy reading to them.
Yeah. That's one of my like favorite routines to do.
Mhm.
And it it's so hard as like a parent to just stay in a routine, but if you
Yes.
do stay in the routine, it does make things so much easier.
Yes.
Uh yeah, it's hard being a parent.
It is. It's like I would love to just be able to go out on to dinner on a whim and like keep my kids like out past a certain time, but
Mm-hmm.
I've learned the hard way that, getting them to bed at the same time every single day
Mm-hmm.
is a much better routine for all of us in the long run.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
Uh, so are you uh, I wish I'm going to have Charles on the podcast at some
you
point.
should. He's
Uh
great.
because he's trying to take over the world with
Absolutely.
robot
Yes.
lawnmowers.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, going back to like my problems with a customer, like
Mm-hmm.
complaining about something, like I listen to my husband talk about his problems at work, and I'm like, how do you keep going? Like, how do you not crumble? Like, my problems are so like small compared to yours. Like, he's like, oh, the lawnmower went off the boundary and hit a cone, and now the whole like their largest customer is taking off all the robots and all the stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's such a huge problem. I can't believe you're having to deal with this.
Well, I think it's all perspective,
Yeah.
right? Like and he's probably like has a lot of experience doing it. This
Hmm.
isn't like his first rodeo,
Yes.
but like one little thing in my world that goes wrong, it takes so much space in my head because
Yes.
like this is my world.
Yeah.
But, like on a bigger scale, something like that might not be as big when you have, 10 other
15
fires
other things going on.
to
Yeah.
put out. But yeah, like finding that balance. And it's so cliche to say like, just find your balance
Yeah.
with that, but uh it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard to do. Do you do anything specifically like with like your personal life or like your business life to just like take time to balance things out?
I personally like to go sit in the sauna. A dark, quiet room that's extremely hot
Hmm.
is a very intense experience for most people, and I find it so relaxing.
Do you have a sauna?
I do not. I have a gym that has a sauna, and so
Hmm.
I try to prioritize like taking at least like 2 hours out of my week to go to the gym and like do a hot sauna, cold shower
Hmm.
thing for a while. And that's like my form of self care. And like, I just think I like maybe listen to music or I meditate inside, and that's
Hmm.
the best thing for myself. Um, yeah, well, go back to the question.
Like the things that you do to like do for yourself to balance your own
Yeah.
life out.
Yeah. So that's like the biggest thing that I do. I love to work out. I
Hmm.
find that like working out, I started doing that on a daily basis in December, and it's the first time I've consistently started doing it, and the endorphin release I get
Hmm.
in the morning times, like, it just makes me feel so much better in the day when I start my day off that way, that that's another thing that I've, like, found has balanced me out a lot, and this gives me the energy to keep going and to keep doing more and
Hmm.
more stuff,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. The
uh,
sauna is pretty amazing.
it's
I
amazing.
like I've gone to Sweat House here in
Yeah.
Atlanta. Uh, they're great. They have
Yeah.
locations all over the city. But I wish if I could have like one luxury item in my
Yeah.
house, I would have a sauna.
Yeah.
It's so great.
They're not like like you can order them off Amazon
I
now.
know. I'm tempted to
Costco,
do
I'm
it.
sure, has one on
I know.
sale.
One day I'm gonna walk
Yeah.
into Sam's Club and there's gonna be a sauna there, and I'm like, I'm gonna fit this in my car somehow.
Somehow. Yeah.
But the sauna's great. I wish I could do it more often
Yeah.
than I do. Um, but the like consistently working out,
Mhm.
that's what keeps me from, I feel like, going crazy.
Yes,
Like I
same.
don't know how people are parents without like some sort of like endorphin
Yes.
release like that, because like I'm not a perfect parent, but like
Yeah.
at least it keeps me like a little bit more sane.
Yeah.
Just having like that regular endorphin release.
Yeah, and it's funny because I noticed that, like, the harder you work out, the more intense the workout is, like, the more the endorphin release is, and so
Hmm.
I'm like, "Yeah, let's go harder." Like, I need more.
Do you work out with Charles?
No, we have a, trainer that we work out with, and so
Yeah.
we have to split it up because
Hmm.
someone has to, like, wrangle the kids.
That's true.
Yeah, so,
They can't
uh
watch themselves yet.
yeah, no, TV only goes so far.
I know. Like we've gotten to the point to where like our oldest can like he can watch Moto for like very
Yeah.
limited
Yeah.
like stretches of time, but he's not quite there yet to just like be trusted all by himself. But one day that's gonna happen.
One day.
Like I don't know what that's gonna be like, but one day.
Yeah, my kids are so close in age that I'm
Hmm.
like, that one day will be
How
when they're teenagers.
how old are they?
4 and 2.5, so
Hmm.
they're 17 months apart,
Yeah, Irish twins.
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're thick as thieves, right?
Yeah, they get along great. They started to play with each other now, so now it's like if they're being quiet, I'm like, "What are you guys up to? What are you
Mm-hmm.
doing?"
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they love to play. They're starting to play chase, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yeah, tag each other, run each other out, like, hide and go seek."
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so it's cool to see.
My boys just now all they want to do is fight,
Yeah.
but not like they want to play fight,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
their play fight like Owen, he's being gentle for his little brother,
Yeah.
but Moto knows nothing of how to be gentle, and he is just like throwing punches with
Yeah.
everything he's got, and sometimes he'll land a punch on Owen, and it's like like dude, you gotta chill out.
Yeah.
You gotta chill out. This
Yeah.
is this always ends in tears.
Yeah.
And if they ever ask me to play pillow fight with them, which is like takes it to another level of like, okay, someone is gonna start crying.
Yeah. I know.
One of you two.
I
Like,
have a little girl and then I have a little boy, and the little
mhm,
boy, he's 2.5. He has no concept of being gentle, and he
mhm,
is so rambunctious, and he, like, just jumps on us all the time. And I'm like, my daughter, I'm, like, proud of her because she doesn't really react, like, she doesn't hit him back, like, she just kinda goes with the flow. She cries pretty easily, but
mhm,
I'm, like, always impressed by her stamina of dealing with Isaac's rambunctiousness because he's crazy.
mhm.
With it.
Are they both in school?
They're both in preschool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is a like we're about to go into preschool. Like it's been like daycare, but
Yeah.
next year is preschool. And I remember like that is such like a stepping stone of like, oh,
Yeah.
like they're out of the house a little bit
Yes.
more. And then from there it's kindergarten. And once they go to kindergarten, it's like you get your life back.
Yeah.
It's you get your life back a little bit
Yeah,
more.
I was gonna say.
But parenting, like raising babies, like it's all these like small little steps of where they're like spending a little bit more time away from you,
Yeah.
and like you finally get more time back like with your spouse,
Yeah.
and it goes just from like being all hands on deck, so crazy having this baby that needs you all the time to
Yeah.
where they're growing up and being away from you, and it's like, oh, we've made it to this phase,
I
like
can't
we can like breathe a little easier now.
Yeah.
Yeah. uh it's great, but it's also heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, I can't it's like the hardest thing, like, the biggest thing about parenting that's, like, so heartbreaking and contradictory is, like, you give up so much of your life, like, you spend so much like, 5 years, 6 years, like, training your brain just to be there for them all the time, like, you've never had anyone, like, so dependent on you, and
Mhm,
then you have to learn how to let that go, like, you have to,
mhm,
like, relearn how to be alone with yourself, and and your spouse or your partner, and it's like, just I can't believe that that would be I don't know, it's just such a crazy, contradictory
Yeah,
experience.
no one tells you really how heartbreaking it is to have kids.
Yeah,
They're constantly breaking your heart.
yeah. And, like, a big comfort for me in, like, trying to stay sane, like, my meditation,
Mhm.
my working out, but then also the thought that this could be the last time I do something with him in some aspect or another, like, like, this is I'm trying to just think, like, my daughter would, like, refer to herself as fire, like, she referred to herself as a 3rd person, like, I'm fire this, I'm fire that, like, and she stops, like, or like one day I won't see my kids naked, and that's such a silly thing to think about, but I'm like, one day they'll be too shy and I'll never see their little booties again, and I'm like,
Yeah.
just like certain thing, I just think about like how like one day I won't hold them again. Like I might be so tired,
Mhm.
but one day will be the last time that I like pick them up and hold them.
Mm.
And that's a crazy thought to me.
Yeah, that's true. It's gonna happen one day and you're not gonna realize it.
You're not gonna realize it.
I know, like, there's even times where, like, Moto will just run up to me and he'll because he usually calls me daddy.
Mhm.
He'll just call me dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ouch.
My
Can you"
daughter calls me Katie. She's like, "Hey, Katie." I'm like, "What?" "Oh, I'm your mommy," and it's a mommy with a hard Y.
Uh, that's heartbreaking.
It is, yeah.
It's also so funny.
Yeah. I know, it's great,
They're
but
little comedians.
yeah. Um,
So, are you done having kids?
yes, we're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're done too. Like,
2 is a good number.
two's great.
Mhm.
3 are outnumbered,
Yes.
and, like, I don't know if I can handle.
Yeah. I think about the numbers and like I couldn't handle it. I don't want that stress. Like having kids so close together, it's insane.
Mhm.
But then I think about I'm like, well, when you go out to eat, you have to get a table for 5
Mhm.
versus 4. I'm like, there's always just 4. It's like easier with just 2.
Mhm.
So when you go on an airplane, like I don't know. I just like think about it like 3 just seems like a weird number for me.
Yeah, I when I was younger, I used to think that I wanted a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And, like, I wanted a really big family because growing up, it was just me and my sister,
Yeah.
and I always wanted a really big family. And then, now with my 2 boys, I'm like, "Oh, this is enough."
Yeah.
Like, we have our hands full, like, this is enough.
I couldn't imagine adding more to that
Mhm. So, I mean,
number.
maybe if we had, like, a ton of property in a commune, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, a
But
village, the
yeah,
village that is
literally a
lacking.
village,
Yeah.
but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So, are you guys gonna be traveling at all this year?
We are going on a Disney cruise in a few weeks, which will be great. I'm excited for that. I
Yeah?
never thought I was a cruise person until I worked on a cruise recently, and I was like right before the pandemic, I'm like, "This is incredible. I don't have
You
to make."
worked on a cruise?
Yeah, I did a job for Chick-fil-A on their they do a big conference every year for the store owners,
Mhm.
store operators.
Yeah.
And so I was working on the guests, like the speakers of the conference and the MCs and the hosts. And so it was great. I was pregnant, so and it was a sober cruise.
Yeah.
So all the pina coladas and daiquiris were all virgin, and I was just like drinking them up. And then we had to be at work at like maybe 4:45 in the morning,
Mhm.
and then we'd be done by 9. And so like I had the whole day to myself, like on the cruise.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I would never have thought, like, that would be something that you could do, like, in your industry,
Yeah.
like, be working on cruises, but I guess it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we were on the, like, 2 largest ships in the world,
Yeah.
and, it was 3 days, 4 days,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, and then I think we would have to come back maybe at 3 p.m., but the rest of the time, we just had off, and so I would sit by the pool, I would go to the gym, I would eat the buffet. It was
Mhm.
great. Can't wait.
That's probably, like, the best case scenario for when you're working in your industry and pregnant.
Yeah, it was. It was wonderful.
Can I just do cruises
Yeah,
for
I'm
9
like, "How
months?
do I get on the cruise campaigns?" Like,
Mhm.
yeah, Royal Caribbean, just call my name. So that was good. And then we're going to Tucson with Charles, like traveling with his work. We kind of tag along a lot.
Mhm.
So he's going to be at a conference or a landscape show. And so we are going to join him. And then hopefully at the end of December of next year or December of this year, we're going to go to Argentina for a while,
Wow.
maybe like a few weeks.
Are you gonna fly or drive out to Arizona?
Fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then would you go for when you go to Argentina, are you gonna just go for like a short stay or how long are you gonna
We haven't talked about it completely, but I'm hoping for at least 2 weeks, if not longer.
Yeah.
Because he can work from there, and the time difference is only 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and I just would love to, like, explore more, like, stay in a place for longer,
Yeah, would you
and
ever like do like a month or two with the kids out of the country somewhere?
absolutely.
Yeah.
If we could,
Yeah.
yeah. But with work, especially for my husband, like, he's,
Mm-hmm.
so busy, so
Yeah.
we don't have that many opportunities to do it. But yeah, I would love to go stay in Argentina for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, that sounds great. I've always wanted to do that with the kids, like
Mhm.
live somewhere out of the country with them. But,
Sounds great.
it sounds great,
Yeah.
but the thing that always pulls me back is like grandparents.
Yes.
Like
A break.
I I want my kids to be around their grandparents as much as
Yeah.
possible. Like I didn't have like a ton of time around my grandparents
Yeah.
when I was younger and my the grandparents they're all in good health.
Yeah.
So I want them to like soak all that in as much
Yeah.
as possible and like when we're here in Georgia, like they get a lot of time with my mom.
Yeah.
Uh, but I would just want to be close for the grandparents. I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel this weird guilt if we were to like move out of the country, even temporarily.
Yeah. I can
Like,
understand that.
I think I just have to bring everybody with us.
Yeah. Bring your mom.
Yeah,
That would be so helpful.
I know. We've
My
talked about maybe trying to do like a bigger family trip, but going somewhere like Bali where we could like stay for a month
wow.
and like everyone like where you can get like a villa
Mhm.
that looks like its own little small hotel,
Yeah.
but stay there for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's, compared to like something that you would do in Mexico or something,
Right.
like
Panama City Beach.
it's not that fancy.
Yeah. No, I feel you on the, like, wanting to move, like, I've always wanted to move away. I've lived in Georgia my whole life.
Hmm.
But now with kids, like, grandparents are so special, and it's, like, such a nice thing to have close by. Both of our parents live nearby, and we see our family members, like, at least once a week usually,
Hmm.
if not more. So I'm excited. My grandparents lived Marcy, my grandmother, she lived in Tucson, so we'd only see her, like, 2 weeks every
Hmm.
year during the summer.
Yeah.
And so, she was the fun grandma. She was always the grandmother that, like, gave us whatever snacks we wanted and took us to go to the toy shopping, and she was so much fun. So, like, I loved that time with her, and I wish I'd had more time with her
Hmm.
growing up, but
Yeah. There's always like the fun grandma
yeah.
or the fun aunt or uncle.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, both, all the grandparents are like, they're fun. I feel like my kids are so spoiled because they have the best aunt and uncles and
Yeah.
like grandparents. And like, they don't realize it right now.
Yeah.
And one day they'll realize it, like how much like fun and good company like their family actually is. At
Yes.
least I hope they realize that one
Yeah.
day. But yeah, I don't want to like take that away from them where
No.
like by moving out of the country and
Yeah.
not being close to grandparents. Because like, we have my mom here in Georgia, and I don't know what we would do without
Same.
them because, like, you're in a very similar industry as my wife, and you guys do the exact
Yeah.
same job. That career of working on set is like it's somewhat predictable because you're never really doing like last minute jobs, but
Yeah.
when you're working, you are like it's a long day.
It's a long day for sure.
And it's really hard to find help for
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
long of periods of time where that's not like a consistent gig they
Yes.
can hire somebody for. It's also like, you might go in at like 6 and be home at 8.
Yeah.
Like it's really long hours. And even like with what I'm doing, like with the salon, it's a lot more consistent,
Yeah.
but it does require my time. And I don't know like where we would be if we didn't have
Yeah.
help from family. I was just talking to a stylist recently who they're from LA and they've been working in Atlanta for a few years, but their second kid's on the way.
Mm.
And like they have to go back to LA to be around their family because LA is cheaper than Atlanta
Wow.
when you factor in
Daycare.
daycare for 2
Yeah.
kids as
Wow.
opposed to just living in LA
Yeah.
and, like, having your parents watch
Yeah.
the kids. Like, that's how expensive childcare is, and then if you factor on top of that these crazy hours, it's
Yes.
even more expensive
Yes.
if you can find somebody to do it.
Right. That's the problem is like finding childcare. Before I had kids, I had no idea what the like childcare situation was in America.
Mhm,
And now having kids, like I had like my career stopped. I had to take time off because,
mhm,
it's either put my kids in daycare all the time
yeah,
or they're like part-time childcare is kind of non-existent.
mhm,
And our parents both work still full time. Like
mhm,
his mom's a nurse and my mom is a real estate agent and they weren't available to like watch our children. And so we are lucky enough that we have help with a nanny, and her name's Astrid, and she is just absolutely wonderful. And I couldn't do what I do without her.
mhm,
But yeah, I mean, this is the first year where I'm like, okay, I can finally go back to work, where I can like start working more full back to where I was pre-kids.
mhm,
And that's because they're in a preschool, and that's because we have a great nanny.
yeah,
And she's on with us almost full time now, but it's insanely expensive,
mhm.
and I just work because I love to work.
Well, that's a good place to be in.
Yeah,
Like,
very lucky.
you love your career.
Yeah.
How do you feel like how do you feel it is getting back to work with, now having 2 kids and now it's, like, post-COVID? Do you
Yeah.
feel like it's changed a lot? Like
The industry?
mhm,
Um, hmm. During COVID was crazy, like with the mask mandates and trying to wear a shield while we were working on set and being tested all the time. And now post COVID, like we don't have those same limits and restrictions anymore. And it's kind of weird to think about like just a few years ago, how we were working and how we are working now.
mhm,
I don't find that I mean, I was kind of out of it during that time, and I don't find that it's changed too much,
yeah.
but I haven't really this is the first year where I've come back and I've started working more. It seems about the same to me.
Are you mostly working in Atlanta?
Yeah, so I work mostly in Atlanta, and, I took a year off completely of doing hair and makeup. Not completely, I took jobs here and there. 6 months,
Mhm,
really maybe 3 months. And I was just, like, wasn't sure if I wanted to keep doing it. I wasn't sure if, like, with 2 kids, like, it was just so much trying to
mhm,
figure out the schedule, especially when you get your call sheet the night before and you don't know what time you have to be on set. It's extremely difficult. So I took some jobs and I decided how much I loved it. Like, I was on this job over the summer. It was the worst thing I could have possibly work on. I was like, um, this is the worst thing that I could be
what made
like.
it so bad?
It was it was for Governor Kemp's campaign.
Oh.
It was like working on a commercial for Governor Kemp. And I was like, personally, I was like, just like if I could think of like the worst thing to be promoting or pushing, like this is it. But I loved the job still, like, I
Yeah,
loved the people I worked with, I had loved meeting the sheriffs and the people we were working on, and I just was like, "Okay, if I love this, doing this for this,
mhm.
then this is a good sign that I should keep going."
Yeah, that is a great sign
Yeah.
because, even though it didn't probably align with your views,
Yes.
personally, like, it's still the job.
Yeah. It
Mhm,
was just the job I made like, stepping away and, like, doing that, like, made me realize how much I loved it, and now I'm, like, got a new energy for it. I'm like, "Let's say yes to everything, like, let's go, let's do this, let's."
mhm.
And, it feels really good to be back.
Do you do you say yes to everything?
Right now, I am.
Yeah,
Like, right now, I'm trying to say yes to as much as possible.
mhm,
But for a long time before kids, before I took some time off, I said no to most everything.
mhm.
And so,
So, why do you wanna say yes to everything right now?
right now, I just wanna say yes because I just need to practice. Like, I've
Mm,
been out of practice for a year, and, just doing it was just gonna make me better and faster and stronger.
mhm,
So, and also, like, I hate doing hair. Like, hair is my least favorite thing to do. Like, give me makeup all day long.
mhm,
But doing hair, like, imposter syndrome for sure when I do hair.
mhm.
But I've, like, realized coming back, I'm like, I'm actually pretty good at this. Like,
Yeah,
I'm doing it, like, and I've been practicing and, like, practicing on people. And, like, for some reason, hair, like, people either love it or they hate it. And when
mhm,
they hate it, I just crumble. I'm like, oh, it's my fault. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And, like, even today, this woman didn't like her hair, but I liked it. And that's
mhm.
all that I cared about.
Well, like correct me if I'm wrong, but like usually you when you get booked for a job, they usually tell you like, okay, this is hair and makeup, but more makeup than hair, or they might give you like some sort of heads up
No,
of like,
I wish.
no, it's
No.
just they just throw you into it and
Yeah,
be like,
like
oh, you didn't know that you were going to be doing this type of hair today.
yeah, no, I mean, most of the time, I don't get any direction
Mm-hmm.
about what they were wanting until I go on the job, on the
Mm-hmm.
set, or working with someone,
Mm-hmm.
unless if it's a big commercial, maybe there'll be some talks about, like, "Hey, we want this in the hair," or we want like, I did a big Domino's commercial, and they wanted a white streak through the hair,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like they were just so obsessed with this white streak, and I'm like, "You guys should just hire a hair person too," and they
Mm-hmm.
just wouldn't, like,
Mm-hmm.
I asked and asked for them to, and, we did it, and they weren't too pleased, they kinda hated it, but
Well, that comes with the job,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like, you know, I hear this from Destiny that like it's really comes down to the producer
mhm.
of how well jobs
Oh,
run.
absolutely.
Like if the producer is good, then everybody can
It's
do
incredible.
the job that they were
Yeah,
hired to do.
yeah.
But if there's a terrible producer on set,
Mhm,
like those types of conversations about like that
mhm.
white piece of hair,
Yeah,
like those conversations weren't had
yeah,
and there was no preparation for you. So by the time you get there, you can't do your job
yeah,
because you didn't have a good producer that was preparing
yeah.
you for it.
And this one was like the production was huge. It was like one of the
Yep.
biggest commercials. It was like a Domino's commercial with Stranger Things. Like it was huge.
Hmm.
The issue there was there's 3 or 4 cooks in the kitchen all giving us different directions.
Yeah.
So we heard, make it this way, make it that way, make it this way. And like it's really my own fault. Like I should have probably done it. I had my assistant who was a hair person
Hmm.
come with me, and so I let her do it, and she did it in a way that they wanted it to look villainly, like someone who was a bad guy, and she did it in a very pretty way.
Mm.
So they were, like, unpleased with it, and when the commercial came out, like, it looked great, like, it looked fine, like, I
Yeah.
couldn't believe how upset they got over it, and so that was my own fault, like, I should have probably done it, like, I shouldn't have had my assistant do it, but I just I'm not a hair person, so I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, she can handle it."
You live and you learn.
Yeah, you do.
Do you ever like get super excited to see things that you've worked on?
Sometimes, but a lot of times I hate it. Like, I hate seeing what I do. Like,
Mm.
that's another issue why I don't post much because I'm just so critical about my own work
Mm.
that, like, I'll see it and I'm like, oh, his skin looks flat there, or oh, I could have done better here. Or sometimes, like, I used to do Delta campaigns and it was fun, like, walking down the run, like, what's it, to get onto the plane. And I
Hmm.
would see the people that I did the makeup on, and that was fun.
Hmm.
But for the most part, like, I'm always, like, kind of critiquing my own work so
But
harshly.
do you think that's because of what you do when like they might be taking thousands of pictures of, your work and they might be critiquing it along the way and giving you directions that like that just makes you critique everything?
Could be.
And even when it's like the final image, like this is the shot,
Yeah.
like you're still critiquing it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But then a lot of times they don't. It's like, I don't know if Destiny, if it's the same for her, but a lot of times I don't get any feedback. So I don't know whether I did a good job or not. So I have to be my own critical eye.
Oh, that's even harder,
It's
right?
so hard. Like, I
Yep.
get 0 feedback, and, there was a client I had recently, it was a pajama company, and I did the work for them, like, 2 years ago, and so there was no talk about, like, what they wanted
Mm-hmm.
as far as hair and makeup goes, so I'm thinking pajamas, like, super natural, hair undone, like, kind of a tasseled texture. So that's what I did, and they didn't hire me back, and I was like and I saw that they were working with another artist, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I wonder why." Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So I, like, go on the website, and I see their website, this is my own fault, I should have maybe done some research, but they liked high glam, like, they
Mm-hmm.
loved heavy makeup, full-on waves,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, I totally missed that," like, completely missed the
Yeah.
mark on that.
But also, if they're not giving you any of
Yeah,
direction, either you can't beat yourself up
yeah,
for that. That was just you taking your own creative direction with it,
yeah.
instead of the creative director probably giving you some direction. So,
Exactly. So it's hard when no one gives you any direction or
hmm.
any feedback because you have to become your own critic or you'll
Hmm.
never really move forward. Anyways, that same pajama company hired me a few weeks ago and they loved it and they said the dream team. So I redeemed myself
That's
and
awesome.
came back. Yeah.
Like that's probably like, you don't know why you weren't hired for
Yeah,
that other, like,
I can
the
only speculate.
job in between, but, they ended up hiring you again, so you did something right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Uh, do you ever, like it's interesting that, like, you don't, like, love everything that you see because, like, I see, like, sometimes Destiny will see a billboard or we'll see, like, an ad in Target or something. She's like, "I did that." I'm like, "What?"
I know, yeah.
Like, that's so cool, and I feel like, it's really easy for your industry to be really critical of yourself,
Yeah.
but that's a big win, like, all those are big wins,
Yeah, it is
and,
big.
I think that dealing with imposter syndrome, like, you have to pat yourself on the back as much as you can
Yeah.
to just, like, quiet the voice of imposter syndrome because I don't think you're ever gonna get rid of it, but,
No.
like, everything's a small win,
Yeah.
like, all those little small wins, you gotta, like, you know, pat yourself on the back.
Yeah. And I feel like being critical of myself has, like, made me grow, but I
Mhm.
could
True.
probably, like, quiet that critic down
Mhm.
quite a bit.
Yeah, like, I'm really hard on myself, and that does make you grow, but then it starts to, you know, not be so good
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah, you gotta, like, find the balance,
Mhm.
as you would say.
Mhm.
Um And because it can easily take over, and it
Yeah.
has, and that's a lot of, like, a big part of why I stepped away for the years because I was just that critic was so intense in my head, and I would get into, like, a very anxious spot where I would be like, "Okay, they're gonna make me have to do hair and makeup, so I'm gonna need to go buy a bunch of products to make myself feel like I know what I'm doing because the products are gonna save me."
Mhm.
And so I would get into this, like, cycle of just, like, anxious spending,
Mm.
buying, and I would just, like, live with this anxious feeling for so long, and then the job would be great, and it would be done, and then the next job would come along, and it would just, like, be the cycle. So I had to step away to, like, kind of also break that, and I have. I feel so much better coming back.
Do you feel like it's kinda like peacocking with, your kit to just,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
buy a bunch of stuff, and
Like
if your kit looks amazing,
yeah,
then, like, I'll look amazing.
yeah, they're gonna trust me.
Mhm. I had a mentor tell me that when I was really young in the industry of just like they're like, "Hey, just spend a shit ton of money on your
Yeah,
tools. Get a credit card, just buy a lot of like nice tools." And I used to think that was crazy.
yeah,
Like, no, what I can do a great haircut with these cheap shears.
yeah,
But then it dawned on me one day of just like, there is something to that of like when someone sits in your chair and they see that, like, oh, like you came prepared. Like,
yeah,
you were ready.
yeah,
Like, this isn't just like, stuff you bought at Walmart with
yeah,
like a Walmart blow dryer. Like, you're here to work.
yeah,
Like, so there is some validity to that. But like, I think that goes across a lot of
yeah.
different industries too.
I
Just like,
also hope that when someone sits in my chair and they see my kit, because my kit is so beat up, like,
mm,
that I'm working a lot because it needs some love. Like,
mhm,
yes, I peacock in some ways, but then I stopped spending any money on it, and now I've got, like, I'm hitting the pan, as what they say, on a lot of my products, and, like, the, like, containers I keep things in are just so beat up, and,
mhm.
like, I'm like, I hope they see that I'm also working a lot because it looks pretty bad right
That's the
now."
other side of the coin, right?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, her kid's seen some mileage, like, she's
Yeah,
good."
yeah, maybe. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah,
But I've had, like, makeup artist friends who wouldn't hire other makeup artists because their kits are gross and disgusting, so,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
so
that's completely valid.
yeah, absolutely.
Whereas, like, because like, most of, like, state board and hair and salons, like,
Yeah,
it's all sanitation based.
yeah,
And, if you have to do continuing education, like, it's sanitation
yeah,
based. So, like, if your kit's gross, like and even, like, I had a mentor tell me once that the difference between a cheap salon and an expensive salon is how clean that salon is.
yeah,
And, like, if there's dust on things,
yeah,
if there's just, like, trash that's visible, like, if it doesn't look sanitary, immediately it looks cheap.
yeah, it's true.
And that's true. It's true in a lot of different industries.
Yeah,
Mhm,
absolutely, and so I'm like, there is a fine balance to it,
mhm.
because if you are working a lot as a makeup artist, like, your kit can't be pristine all the time.
True.
But then it can't also have just, like, loose powders everywhere and just be absolutely disgusting either,
Mhm.
so, yeah.
Well, I think you're doing a great job.
Thanks, Josh. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
And thanks for doing this podcast
Yeah,
today. This is
no, it's
really great.
great. I'm so glad. It was my first podcast.
Yeah, you did
I hope
great.
your listeners like it.
You did great.
Yeah.
Like this podcast has been a lot of fun, and I feel like I've been like I've been talking with my clients and small business owners to like find out like why they do what they do and
Yeah,
like how they got their start because everybody needs there's people out there who want to start their own business. There's
absolutely.
young stylists out there that want to break into what you're doing, and just by you sharing your story and how you did it like is going to like maybe give someone some inspiration. So,
I hope so.
thanks for being here and telling
Yeah.
your
No,
story.
I will say I'm a podcast snob and
Yep.
I have listened to so many people interview and a lot of times I'll I just miss it if the interview process isn't good.
Mhm.
And I am really impressed with your skills. Like,
Thank
I'm
you.
really impressed with your podcast. I've like taken away so much from just the few episodes you've released.
Thank
So
you.
when I listened to it and you asked me, I was like, really? He wants me? But I was like excited to be part of it because I just think you're doing a really good job.
Thank you. I think, part of being a good hairstylist is just like not talking all the time and listening and
Yes.
then like being able to like keep a conversation flowing,
Yeah.
but like also while you're working with your hands.
Yeah.
And now like I'm doing this, but I can finally just like sit and focus on someone and
Yeah.
have a conversation. And I'm not like doing a full head of foils while I'm trying to keep
Right.
a conversation going.
It's
So
so tough.
like this has been it's been a lot of fun and refreshing.
No, I have the same thing with doing makeup. Like people are always asking, like, can you teach me how to do stuff while I'm doing it? And I'm like, I'm trying to hurry. I'm trying to focus. Like I'm trying
Hmm.
like I will shut down. I have a hard time keeping the conversation going.
Hmm.
And I'm like, if I could just listen to music and do makeup, like I would kill the
Hmm.
but it's really, really difficult to talk and do stuff at the same
I
time.
know. I think sometimes I wish it was socially or just acceptable while I was doing someone's hair and be like, "Hey, do you mind if I just put headphones on?"
Yeah.
Like, I just need to like really be in my own head
Yeah.
sometimes. But that's never happened.
If you ever need to do that with me, I'm fine with it. Like I totally understand.
Yeah, maybe if I was doing like a 4 hour, 5 hour appointment,
Yeah, that would be
be
so
like, "Hey,
hard.
we need to take a break from talking for a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's
Just gonna put my headphones on."
yeah,
Yep.
awesome.
Awesome, Katie. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for doing this
Yeah,
today. This is
thanks,
great.
Josh. I really appreciate it.